Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. These are the items I have to make a cabbage soup. To start off, we've got olive oil. Then we're gonna move on to the vegetables. We've got onion there, one whole onion. That's about one bell pepper. I chopped it up and froze it after I bought it so it wouldn't get soft in the fridge. Sometimes I find bell peppers get soft, so I just chop them up immediately, put them in the freezer. As well as some of this colorful bell pepper. I'm probably just gonna do about a third of the bag, which would equal about half of a bell pepper. And some carrots. With the carrots, I froze them. This is a bag I bought a few weeks ago and was afraid it was gonna go bad before I ate it. So I just popped them in the freezer and I'm just gonna chop them up for the soup. We've got the onion, the celery. We're gonna chop up the celery. We're gonna use some of those leaves too. The leaves are good in soup, they add flavor. One whole head of cabbage, the vegetable broth, as well as potatoes. I add the potatoes at the end of the soup, and each time I reheat the soup, that's when I add the potatoes, because otherwise they get soft and fall apart in the soup. You know, unless you're gonna eat it all right away, I'd say just hold off on adding the potatoes when it's cooked and add them as you reheat. So these are the items I bought for the cabbage soup. So stay tuned, I'll show you how I make it. Oh, and don't forget, I have my stock pot here. So you'll need a big pot of some sort because the cabbage, it will cook down, but when you first add it, it's gonna fill up the pot. So here's the celery all chopped up. I only chopped up about 3 stalks. Honestly, I may not even use all of that, but I chopped up the leaves that are inside of it too, just to add flavor. The rest of it, what's left, I'll chop up for snacking this during the week, and I'll freeze some for other soups and recipes later. So first I'm gonna add olive oil down into the pot, just a little bit to get started cooking the onions and bell pepper and celery. So I've added all the veggies to the pot, the onion, the bell pepper, the celery, with a little olive oil, and I'm just gonna let that kind of cook together. You can see it's starting to steam. I'm gonna let it saute, and then I'm gonna add some of the other items. And don't forget to add a bay leaf. I always add these to soups and stews and beans. It just adds nice flavor. Once you add the bay leaf, you want to just kind of stir it all together with everything else. Let it all get coated in oil and saute together. I've added about half the carrots here in the beginning. I'm going to add the other half at the end, but I like to put a little bit in the pot at the beginning just to get that flavor going. So here is the one head of cabbage that I've chopped up. It's almost too big for my colander, but it's gonna cook down. I'm gonna add it to the soup after I add the broth. Here we have 1 can diced tomatoes. I'm just gonna pop this open and pour it in there. This is the brand that I chose. I got this at QFC, but get whatever diced tomatoes you can find at your store. Now I'm gonna add 2 cartons of vegetable broth. It's gonna take a lot of broth because the cabbage has to cook down, but you can use any kind of vegetable broth. You could even use chicken broth if you prefer. Adding the second carton. Now I've refilled this carton with water, and I'm gonna add about half a carton of water just to kind of add a little water to cut the sodium in the broth. Okay, so I've added all the ingredients except for the cabbage and the potatoes, and the last of the carrots. So I'm gonna let this come to a boil. I'm gonna put it on high. It's just gonna boil very briefly, then I'm gonna turn it down and add the cabbage and just cook it on like a medium-high, medium heat, and let the cabbage cook down. Oh, and I'm gonna add my seasonings at this point. I'll show you what I'm adding. Of course, I'm adding Tony's sachets. I'm also gonna add Italian seasoning and parsley. All right, so it's come to a boil. I'm gonna add the cabbage and then I'll show you guys how it looks. It fills up the pot. I may even have to let some of it cook down before adding the rest. Okay, so I've added all of the cabbage and the last of the carrots, and I'm just gonna let it soak up all that broth and cook down. You can always add a little more water if it starts to kind of get to not have enough broth, but I think it'll be fine. I'm gonna let it cook down and then I'll show you guys what it looks like as it's cooking. So here it is about 30 minutes later. As you can see, a lot of the cabbage has cooked down, but it's still gonna cook down some more. So I'm just adding enough potatoes for one serving, what I plan on having that night, because I don't like the potatoes to sit in the broth and they get soft and soggy. So I just add what I need and then I keep the rest separate and I add them each time I reheat the soup. And just to note, this soup is really light. I don't add any chicken or beef or anything like that. I have in the past and I just find it changes the flavor. So I prefer to keep it simple as it is, and I'll eat it with potatoes. Sometimes I'll add rice. Sometimes I'll eat it with something else on the side, but I just like it plain and simple like this. And here's the bowl. So I made my little 2-cup serving in my little soup mug. You can see the steam there. So I'm gonna eat this. I'll show you the soup has really cooked down a lot and I added the seasoning. I forgot to add it earlier. After I told you all about the seasonings, I forgot to add them to the pot, so I just added them. I'm gonna turn the fire down and just let it'll continue to cook for a little while because it's so hot, and then it'll cool down and I'll just let it cool before I put it in the fridge. And just to show you how much it's cooked down, I took out the 2 cups for my serving and this is what's left. So you can see it's cooked down even a little more than it was earlier. So I'm not worried about it being too much. I'll finish this pot. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos and stay tuned to see a meal prep of all the meals I made for the week. See you soon.